Chris, has it been difficult bringing the lads back down to earth after Tuesday this week?
No, I mean, there's no downside in beating Tottenham at home in the FA Cup, 5th round in front of 34,000 punters, live on BBC One, even though it did shift to BBC Two, didn't it? I recorded it as well. So time I got home and I'm really looking forward to this last sort of 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I've got what's happening in Ukraine, which is important, and not being sort of critical of the BBC, obviously, but it's been great. It's been great. Got to enjoy it, as I've always said. But I think the players understand, that it's back to work, getting the hands dirty again against a tough opposition who are going fantastically well so far.
I'll ask you about Luton in a second, but obviously the draw last night. What was your reaction when you saw
Home
that?
draw that we were all after. I think when you go deep into the competition, it is what it is. I think we'll all have our little ideas on who we would have liked to have played, but I think that the majority of the Boro punters, supporters, would have wanted a home draw, and to have 30 odd thousand of our supporters watching that game. I'm sure there'd be a huge clamour for tickets, and world champions, Champions League winners, holders at home in the FA Cup in middle of March. It's great to be involved in the competition. There's no downside in terms of going deep into this competition and being involved at this stage, regardless of what games we've got coming up, or how it might sort of mess about with the fixture list. That's complete nonsense if people think that we're worrying about that. We want to win games of football, we want to play in big games, we want to have big experiences, and we certainly having that at the moment.
Were you really clamouring for another Premier League team when we were in the draw?
I'll keep my preferred opponents to myself, but I think first and foremost a home draw was key, and it was great that we got that.
Luton next, obviously, it's a real fairy tale story, isn't it, with them? They were in the National League 6 or 7 years ago. I mean, what's your take on how far they've come and now pushing for a playoff spot like yourself? Yeah,
I know a lot of the people down at Luton. I know the chief exec, the media guy. One of my clubs, Oxford United, played against Luton in the conference. Had some fabulous battles against them. Sellouts at Kenilworth Road and an Oxford, and it just shows you how difficult the conference was at the time, how many ex-football league teams were in it, and how difficult it was to get out, and they got out, and it's an incredible journey. Obviously moving to a new stadium as well, a lot of ambition there, and great reward for the likes of Gary and the people that have driven that forward, and they've got obviously Nathan's back there as well, a club that's very close to his heart. He had obviously a journey to Stoke for a little while, and then found himself back at Luton, and I think the sort of club and is typified by Nathan's attitude towards the game and the players as well. So this division isn't about big names; it's about what you do on the pitch, and I think that's what happens in the whole of football. You don't get anything for just being a big name with a big history. You've got to go and earn the right to it, and certainly they've earned the right to be in the position that they are in now, and they'll be trying everything to keep hold of that position and have a successful season.
And they've got a lot of experience there as well, haven't they? Cameron Jerome, Henry Lansbury, Robert Snodgrass signing as well. With a blend of youth there as well, I guess. It's
team.
One of the
they're a team. So that's what we're all trying to do that. I'm a big team man, so I'm a team player, and they're a good team. Sort of individuals that have, Robert Snodgrass and, like I say, Cameron Jerome, players that have played at a high level, the highest level, but young players there. So great mix, great balance, and they're a team, and they're a good team.
Cheers, Chris.
Cheers. Chris, I suppose as well, the incentive is there that if you win, you go above them and into the playoffs, into the weekend.
We just want to get back to winning ways after a disappointing afternoon at Barnsley. That's the be all and end all. we're in good nick. I think we understand where a couple of the problems lie. It's difficult, as I've talked about, in terms of getting onto the training ground. But we'll take that. We'll take that situation that we're in. I'm never going to turn a decent cup run down, and we certainly won't. And the whole of the football club won't. And but we understand there's a few little bits and pieces that we need to sort out, but we'll try and do them in-house. But getting back to winning ways is key. It was a disappointing afternoon at Barnsley. It was a disappointing first 45 minutes. Second half, as you've seen, but we can't give any teams a helping hand. We've got to be ruthless in both boxes. The bit in the middle I've been delighted with. I think it's been really good, but means nothing if you don't defend properly individually and collectively as a team. And we showed we can. We showed on Tuesday night we can against world-class players. So concentration levels, discipline levels, organisation, little details. Let's get that right. I think if you look back at my past record as a manager, I'm not a gung-ho manager. I think if you want success and you deliver success, it's two parts to the game, and you don't sort of, as I said, get promotions and win things with a flaky structure out of possession, and we haven't had that. We've kept clean sheets along the way. But we just need to nail down a few little bits and pieces, and maybe it's just sort of a concentration level and mentality level more than anything, because I think we've shown we can go to Stoke and get clean sheet, Tottenham clean sheet, Forest clean sheet. We've had them along the way, and we need to make sure that both parts of the game are looked after. If we have an opportunity to be progressive and effective and pin the other teams back and create chances, then we'll do that, and hopefully we'll carry on doing that and be clinical at that point of view. But certainly, we have that ability to keep clean sheets, and we need to between now and the rest of the season.
You talked about beating Tottenham there. Is there a danger that there's perhaps a little bit more pressure on this, because supporters might be coming along thinking, oh well, it beat Spurs, so it should definitely beat Luton?
Well, of course. I mean, you get all sorts of different views and attitudes towards it. If you've beaten if we've beaten Tottenham, so we should comfortably beat Luton. This game doesn't work out that way. We all understand that. So it starts on a level playing field. I completely respect what Nathan's done and his players. We're preparing just as much, if not more, for this game than any other game. We'll be thorough in our preparation, attention to detail, and the players will definitely understand how difficult a game this is. So, yeah, I mean, everybody comes, but I've got to say, I've not felt that. I didn't feel that after Manchester United. I've not felt that any season, any part of the season since we've walked in. I've not felt. I keep saying I think it's quite a decent sort of analogy phrase to use. The shirt is a light shirt, and that has to be kept light by players' attitudes and everybody's attitude. And I think the supporters understand what they're giving us, and I'm sure that they'll continue to do that.
Just a word on Josh Coburn. He was obviously delighted to get his goal the other night. You must be delighted for him as well. How's he been this week? Is there been a bit of a confidence about him, or? No,
he's an humble young man. I think his parents have got a butcher's shop in Richmond. I keep saying to him, "Where's me sausages?" And he keeps forgetting, so I keep reminding him of it. Yeah, he's a good boy, and moments like that will stay with him for the rest of his career. And he's got a long career ahead of him, but he needs to work hard. We've got a decent group of forwards in there at the moment, and I think you understand this is not a get carried away football club. He'll be brought down to earth by, I should imagine, the players just as much as I will when I rip into him when he gets in. But delighted, he'll be delighted for himself. It's a proud moment for him, but it's a great moment for the football club just as importantly.
And just last one, how are you looking injuries-wise in terms of...
Yeah, we're hopeful that the two boys, Connolly and McGree, will train this morning. A few tired legs, but we have to recover quickly. We recovered quickly after the Old Trafford game into the Wednesday night game at QPR and Derby, so that was a tough week, and it's going to be a tough week. You know, these weeks will be tough, and there's a lot of emphasis going to be placed on recovery to go again, and that's how it is. Everybody knows that, but you know, you look at those top teams that, you know, your Liverpools and your Man Cities and all like that, and it's, you know, it's play, recover, go again, and you know, it's not just from, you know, the conditioning point of view, it's from the mentality point of view, and hopefully physically, I thought the players' efforts on Tuesday night were fabulous, and from a mentality point of view, I think they understand that if they want to be the shake-up at the end of the season, then they've got to really tune themselves into a tough game on Saturday.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Chris. Thanks.
Chris, just picking up from what you said about Josh Coburn now, I mean, he's 19, but he's at that moment, and naturally there'll be a bit of a, you know, like a clamour to see him.
He don't pick the tick, clamour.
Sorry?
Clamour.
Yeah, from supporters, you know, seeing...
Well, they don't pick the team, though, do they?
No, yes, but that's what I'm going to say, like, you know, is there a kind of, from you, a bit of almost protecting him and... No. If I think it's right for Josh to play, I'll play him. Yeah, and you think, you know, he's ready for that. He's got a bit about him, hasn't he? Yeah,
he's done great, but he's a young player, and we've got five forwards. So when the time's right, you know, I'm not, you know, if I thought it was right to play Josh from the off, I'd play him. You know, I'm the old one. I'm not gonna play a player that I think should be starting and leave him on the bench if I thought that was the right thing to do. You know, this is, you know, our decision to go with what we needed to go with. I think we've done okay so far in terms of selection as well. Yeah, again, it's all about opinions as well, but it's a reason that, without being arrogant, I've been given the job to do it. So I've got, you know, I don't get carried away with anything. It's great that Josh has scored, and it's great that it's a positive moment for him.
But just while we're on Josh, what was you kind of thinking about keeping him here? Because I think a lot of us thought he'd probably go out in January, and you've obviously got 4 other strikers, but you obviously saw something that thought there was more value in keeping him in the building for this second half of the season.
Well, Connolly was out injured on Tuesday night, so that leaves us T comes in. Who's obviously you know, a young player that's making his way in the game as well. There's a couple of things. First and foremost, we have to protect ourselves as a football club to making sure that we're as strong as we possibly. It's not about Josh Coburn's development. It's about Middlesbrough Football Club having the strongest team out there. I'm not there to do Josh any favours or to do anybody else any favours. I'm there to protect the football club and making sure that, you know, if we have to make changes, if Josh has to go in, if I feel it's right for him to start, if I feel it's right for him to come off the bench, if I feel it's right for him to go and make me a cup of tea, he'll go and make me a cup of tea. So that's the way it is. And the second part of it, I think there's a lot of nonsense talked about it's best for him to go out on loan. What about him being involved with us, learning from the likes of, you know, Peltier and Bamba how to be a top pro, training in an intensity that's no disrespect, won't be as intense as maybe the level he would be playing at, and getting to know the nuances of how we play and what we want him to do on a day-to-day basis. Being in the classroom in the afternoon and looking at his clips of training and seeing what what did he think about this and what does he think about that, and can he do this better, and getting coached by, you know, by ourselves as a coaching group to improve him as that. You know, there might become a time where we go, now's the right time, but I didn't feel it was the right time for a lot of reasons. He's going to be here for a long time. As always, you know, young players, and this is not he hasn't because he won't, he hasn't got that character. Young players do become impatient, but he's got time on his side and he's learning his trade, and and he'll have moments where it doesn't go well for him. You know, he sort of come back and played against Mansfield, and it was a difficult afternoon. I know he was out for a long time, and then there's a fabulous moment on Tuesday night where he's come and got a winner for his local football club, and it's a brilliant moment individually for him. But you know, he keeps working hard. You know, there's a lot of development in him physically, and every aspect of the game.
Boro was back, obviously, in the week, which was a big boost. I mean, arguably the two wing-back positions probably is where you've probably got least cover in the squad, so getting him back is a real boost.
Yeah, I've got to say, I thought Neil Taylor was sort of back to his best on Tuesday night, you know, against the physicality and the pace that the Premier League players have. I thought he gave us a real calming influence, and then obviously opportunity for Mark to go on the pitch. So we're delighted to have him back, and that's an important player to have back. Yeah, you're right.
And just the playoff picture or promotion picture in general. I mean, we're into March now, and I know we always say the Championship's hard to predict, but this season more than ever, it does just seem like there's probably a dozen clubs, and you could toss the names up, and however they fall at the end of the season wouldn't really surprise you.
I think there's still a hell of a lot of football to be played, isn't there? Some clubs that are on incredible runs. Everything to play for right the way through, you know, now, and I keep saying it, even if there wasn't, there would be, through the personal pride of players and teams and managers, but loads to play for, and yeah, it's going to be about the consistent ones, isn't it? And that's the disappointing thing that we've had in the last two away games. You know, at home it's been great, but the last two away games in those little periods, small periods. So that's what we're looking at. You know, we have to be consistent right the way through our campaign between now and Preston, and you know, how do we recover from defeat? We've obviously, you know, it was a fabulous recovery. Can we go on now a run? You know, I think you look at Huddersfield, when we turned them over, and then all of a sudden they've gone on 14, 15 game run, which is brilliant. So I think everybody's looking for that. You know, can you go on a 10, 11, 12 game unbeaten run between now and the end of the season? I think anybody who does that will be firmly in the mix.
You mentioned obviously after Barnsley and before Tottenham, the kind of, you know, you haven't got much time to work with the defenders, and you were disappointed at Barnsley, but then, you know, Tuesday night showed what they can do when they're on it. I mean, do you have to kind of speak to them at all, you know, in the build-up to, like, say, Luton, and just remind them, you know, you need to be on it all the time?
Oh yeah. I mean, the messages are clear, and you know, there's consequences. Like we all know. I've had to be. I will be ruthless with my approach. So, you know, sometimes your hands are tied behind your back a little bit at this stage of the season, but you know, I am. You know, there's got to be consequences. There can't be a sort of a wrecking ball to it. You know, but you know, if it keeps happening over a certain period, there's consequences. There's consequences in players coming out of the team, and then there's consequences. Are people going to be part of that journey going forward? Because, you know, we've got to, you know, if we're looking at success next year, we've got to, you know, it's got to be 18 and 20 clean sheets. Defensive record's got to be good. You know, the bit in the middle, I always think is going to be good, and the top bit's got to be good, because that's where we want to be. So, you know, the message is all along. You know, I'm not sat in the change room before the game against Barnsley and saying, you know, let's have a slow start, let's defend slack, let's defend on the edge of our box. Let's not win any headers, tackles and races, and let's not drop any second balls. I didn't say that against Bristol City, you know. But if they don't adhere to it and it becomes an issue, then there's a consequence. Now what they need to show, because I do believe that they can defend, as shown on Tuesday night, as shown against Forest, as shown, you know, at Stoke and Coventry and Swansea, and the amount of clean sheets that we have. But you know, there has to be a responsibility to the players as well. I don't think it's a structure thing, by the way. I don't think, you know, we're not giving up huge chances every game. You know, that new one, the old XG, or whatever, how they want to talk about it. I don't see people missing incredible chances against us. So there's a couple of bits in that I'd love to work on the training ground, but sort of the majority of the time it's just an individual error and a lack of concentration, and that's hurting us, and we're getting punished by. So we have to cut out that if we want to give ourselves opportunities of winning games.
Isaiah Jones, we've been trying to keep him under wraps for as long as possible.
Can't believe you've left it that long. Dear me.
You had plenty of talk after the other night, and then reports yesterday a couple of Premier League clubs interested in him, but I'm presuming he's someone you want to keep at the club long term.
Yeah, I think we all understand. We live in the world where, people talk about selling clubs. I think, there's possibly one or two clubs, 3, 4, 5 clubs in world football that aren't a selling club. PSG are a selling club, aren't they, in terms of what happens with their centre forward. So I can't predict. What I know is the club is in a healthy situation regarding assets on the pitch. So I think if you look through it, you look through the team, no disrespect to Neil Taylor, I'm sure it's not going to go for a big number now, but right the way through that team, there's assets in it. You possibly take, mind you, I suppose Johnny Howson's performance on Tuesday night, or all of a sudden I won't be surprised at the end of the season if I get a phone call about John if he carries on playing in the way he does. But I think from usually looking at the age groups of the ages of the players, and I think there's some big assets on that pitch, and they're growing, which is great, and they'll grow through exposure, they'll grow through winning games of football, and they'll grow through just improving, and they're not going backwards. Tav's not going backwards, Del Fry's not going backwards, Paddy McNair's not going backwards, Jonah's not going backwards. There's some. So the only thing is, as we all know, that you're always susceptible to teams knocking on the door. Would I rather have it that way? Yeah, 100%, because I think that shows that we're doing things right. But they're here, they're under contract, they're playing well, and we've just got to enjoy that while it's here.
Yeah, and presumably, if these assets, big offers came in for them in the summer, it presumably there would be a point that, it would have to be, that's the value we will sell, but you fight as hard as possible to keep them.
We've worked incredibly hard with these players through academy level, through a number of years. I think the attitude of Steve. He doesn't give anything away. He's a tough guy in many senses, and we're not a charity, so nobody will be cherry picking any of our players and just picking them off. We're in a good position. As I said, I think just the way of football and the way of the order of football is that these things can happen, and we have to deal with them at the right time. But certainly, we're not having to deal with them right this moment. Players. I'm sure you should imagine feet are kept firmly on the ground. We have quite a little bit of experience in keeping players' feet on the ground, so quite enjoy that now and again. So they have to deal with that, and the attitude of the group is humble and honest, and that's the way we need to keep it. But certainly, these things happen in football, and you have to deal with them at the right time. But as far as I'm concerned, it's keeping everybody together and building, and adding better players to the group and making the group stronger. And we've talked at length, haven't we, about how many windows does that take, and there's plenty of work going on now, going into the summer window to make decisions to strengthen that group.
I have to ask Chris, are you in the darts tournament, and what's your nickname?
No, the most probably have given me a nickname. Yeah. But they ain't got the to say it to my face. But knowing footballers, of course they will. But I'm not. So no, I'll leave it at that. But no, that's good. It's a good part of it. So I sometimes sort of drift into there, and I think what in a serious note, what you are seeing is a really committed group of players that are fighting for each other and fighting for the football club. So. It's everybody talks about team spirit, You know, I think at times quite flippantly, if you win games of football, you know, sometimes when you're up against it, that's when you need to show your spirit. And I think one thing I would say about this group is that they're a really tight group and pulling in the right direction and for each other.